Republicans saying they are shocked by what freshman Democratic Congressman Alan-Grayson of Florida said about them on the floor of the House last night.
It's my duty and pride tonight to be able to announce exactly what the Republicans plan to do for health care in America. It's this. Very simply, it's a very simple plan. Here it is. The Republicans' health care plan for America. Don't get sick. That's right, don't get sick. If you have insurance, don't get sick. If you don't have insurance, don't get sick. If you're sick, don't get sick. Just don't get sick. That's what the Republicans have in mind for you, America. That's the Republicans' health care plan. But I think that the Republicans understand that that plan isn't always going to work. It's not a foolproof plan. So the Republicans have a backup plan in case you do get sick. If you get sick in America, this is what the Republicans want you to do. If you get sick, America, the Republican health care plan is this. Die quickly. That's right. The Republicans want you to die quickly if you get sick. Now, the Democrats have a different plan. The Democrats say that if you have health insurance, we're going to make it better. If you don't have health insurance, we're going to provide it to you. If you can't afford health insurance, then we'll help you to afford health insurance. So America gets to decide. Do you want the Democratic plan or do you want the Republican plan? Remember, the Republican plan, don't get sick. And if you do get sick, die quickly.
Republican demands for an apology from Congressman Grayson commenced immediately. They were led by Congressman Tom Price of Georgia, who drafted a resolution condemning Congressman Grayson's speech, and then he condemned the speech itself on the House floor this afternoon. Here's what Congressman Grayson did with the chance that was offered him.
Several Republicans asked me to apologize. Well, I would like to apologize. I would like to apologize to the dead. And here's why. According to this study, health insurance and mortality in U.S. adults, which was published 2 weeks ago, 44,789 Americans die every year because they have no health insurance. I apologize to the dead and their families that we haven't voted sooner to end this Holocaust in America.
Holocaust? Always a bad choice of words unless you're talking about the actual Holocaust, at least in my opinion. And of course, that was clearly not an apology. Now, were Congressman Grayson's comments over the top? Absolutely. Were they fair and accurate? Absolutely not. They were a hyperbolic, over-the-top charge. Congressman Grayson admitting that today when he said his remarks were meant to be tongue-in-cheek. But were Mr. Grayson's comments a breach of decorum in the House of Representatives? Would that they were. Yeah, a breach of decorum in the United States House of Representatives, for the time being anyway, is something like screaming at the president in the middle of an address to a joint session of Congress. That is still considered to be a breach of decorum. But to say it's a breach of decorum to make an inflammatory floor speech, to say that the opposing party is going to cause the death of Americans, that's not a breach of decorum in the House of Representatives today. That's an average Tuesday in the House of Representatives. You don't have to agree with Congressman Grayson or with the exact words he used last night or with the signs that he used to illustrate his point in order to agree that what he said on the House floor was absolutely no departure from what his colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle have been doing and saying all year long. Does that sound extreme? Do you not believe me? Listen.
Last week, Democrats released a health care bill which essentially said to America's seniors, drop dead.
They're going to save money by rationing care, getting you in a long line. Places like Canada, United Kingdom, and Europe, people die when they're in line.
1 in 5 people have to die because they went to socialized medicine.
This program of government option that's being touted as being this panacea, the savior of allowing people to have quality health care at an affordable price, is going to kill people.
Republicans have a better solution that won't put the government in charge of people's health care and is pro-life because it will not put seniors in a position of being put to death by their government.
A lot of people are going to die.
I would hate to think that among 5 women, one of them is going to die because we go to socialized care.
But the president's advisor, Dr. Emanuel, says medical care should be reserved for the non-disabled. So watch out if you're disabled.
Okay, now let's talk about political rhetoric that's worth apologizing for. Could Congressman Alan-Grayson's allegation yesterday that the Republican health plan is for sick people to die quickly, could that speech reasonably have been part of that inflammatory montage of comments from the floor of the House that we just played? Absolutely, it could be part of that. And was it a departure from the civility that you would hope to see in political debate in Congress? Absolutely. But Republicans calling for an apology just from Congressman Grayson while they think stuff like this is fine?
Last week, Democrats released a health care bill which essentially said to America's seniors, drop dead.
You could talk me into the idea that die quickly is a mean thing to say in Congress, but you couldn't talk me into that if drop dead is considered to be okay. Joining us now is Democratic Congressman Alan-Grayson of Florida. Congressman Grayson, thank you very much for coming on the show tonight to talk to us about this.
It's my pleasure, Rachel.
You are the most talked about man in Washington today, and so let's take this chance of talking to you to clear some of this up. Did you mean it literally when you said the Republican plan is for sick people to die quickly?
It was tongue-in-cheek, Rachel, but I will tell you this. The Republicans have no plan. I'd love to see a choice between 2 or 3 or 5 or 7 plans to reform health care in America. There's only one because the Republicans simply won't offer one. They're not helping Americans to avoid outrageous health care premiums, no coverage when they need it, and they're not helping Americans, 47 million of them, who have no coverage at all. They got nothing.
When you said today that you wouldn't apologize to Republicans, you said you did apologize to the 45,000 people who are said to die every year because they don't have health insurance. And I want to ask you about your choice of words because I just criticized it. You said, I apologize to the dead and their families that we haven't voted sooner to end this Holocaust in America. Was the word Holocaust there a reference to World War II? Were you making a Third Reich reference?
Rachel, I was simply saying how disappointed I am that we can't get people to work together in Congress to solve this fundamental problem. We're talking about 44,000 people dying every year in America for lack of health insurance. My goodness, what are we in Congress for if we're not in Congress to solve that kind of problem? We have to stop the bickering and we have to move ahead.
Policy issues and process issues on the one hand are absolutely the substance of how we got into this, but the character of your comments about it are the reason that everybody's decided to make you the issue rather than health care the issue today. So I just have to press you and ask you again, do you regret using the word Holocaust? Was it a reference to World War II or did you mean it in a generic sense?
I don't see it that way, Rachel. I think we've put health care back on the calendar and we're going to get it moving. That's the purpose of my remarks. It's stalled. Nothing's happening. And meanwhile, 4,000 Americans die every month. Over 100 of them died every single day while we were debating this and debating it and debating it. We have to do this. We have to solve that problem and all the other problems. That's what we're here for.
I have to ask you a third time, and I'm sorry because I didn't mean to do this, but do you regret using the word Holocaust or do you think it was appropriate?
Rachel,
yeah.
It may not have been the best choice of words, but I will say this. My words don't matter. That's not what's important here. What's important is that we do what we need to do, that we solve these problems. And that's what I came here to do. That's what's so frustrating to me. I've been here for only 9 months now, and I see the Republicans have nothing. They simply stick their heels in. They dig their heels in. They won't let anything get done time and time again. It's not just the health bill. It's everything. They simply block everything. That's not what America sent Congress to do.
What do you think the best way is for Democrats in Congress to fight Republicans? You've obviously taken a very pugnacious rhetorical stand against them, and you've been very outspoken and very blunt. It's the way you campaigned. It's the way that you have governed as a member of Congress in your first term. Do you think that the Democratic Party should be approaching Republicans differently, just as a matter of strategy?
People want a Democrat with guts. They want to see a Democratic Party with guts. They want to see us use the power that they gave to us last November in the election. They want to see us solve their problems, and not just Democrats. It's not just Democrats who feel that way. People want to see Congress act, not drag their feet, not be stopped by the Republicans, not be stonkered by these nattering nabobs of negativism. They want to see us solve their problems, or at least work on them. And that's what this plan does. That's why it's so frustrating to me to see a lack of progress when we have 122 more Americans dying every day.
Do you think that there is a cost in terms of the likelihood of getting something worthwhile passed for health care, in terms of the overall effectiveness of the Congress, to see the sort of incredibly inflammatory rhetoric we have seen on both sides in health care? I mean, it's clear that Republicans are in a bind in asking you to apologize because of their own history of inflammatory rhetoric on health care and other issues. Do you think in general that it should be dialed back?
Listen, Rachel, we're dealing with people on the other side who are utterly unscrupulous. These are foot-dragging, knuckle-dragging Neanderthals who know nothing but no. One way or another, we have to overcome it for the sake of the nation.
Congressman Grayson, let me ask you about one last substantive policy issue, because we've talked about you on this show in the last week in relation to your efforts to get the Defund ACORN Act to apply to all other contractors who have filed fraudulent paperwork and the other things that the Defund ACORN Act accuses that group of doing. How is that effort going? How's it being received?
I think it's been going well. We're going to have some decision points coming up, in particular the conference between the House and the Senate. But right now the House has passed a bill that defunds contractors who commit fraud against the government, and I'm happy to be part of that. I think we need to protect that. We need to make sure the final bill reads that way. It would change America.